Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes. So it's a great honor today to have the opportunity to remember the great souls. Once I asked one disciple of Srila Prabhupada, his name is Kishore Prabhu in London. I asked him, you're a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and on Srila Prabhupada's appearance or disappearance day, what happens in your heart? What do you feel? And he said on Srila Prabhupada's appearance or disappearance day, he said the same thing happens as happens every single day. I said, what's that? He said, every day when I come in front of Srila Prabhupada, I feel challenged. He said, when I see Srila Prabhupada, when I hear about Srila Prabhupada's life, when I listen to his katha or read his books, when I think about everything I've received from him, then I feel challenged. Because I look at my life and I realize I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more. And therefore he said, Srila Prabhupada, he's still waking me up today. Because she said, Srila Prabhupada is still pushing me. And this is what the great souls do. The great souls, they come into this world and they live a life of such Krishna consciousness. They live a life of such spiritual intensity that even if one is lazy, even if one is a little bit lethargic, even if one is a little bit casual, just by being around them, they will push you. And it's uncomfortable sometimes, it's challenging, but it's very good. The great souls come to this world to push us. Because if they didn't push us on our own enthusiasm and eagerness, we may not go very far. And so the great souls are like that. I was remembering one Vyasa Puja of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. We used to have every single year in Radhadesh. And what would happen is, before the Vyasa Puja, there would be a big Harinam. Maybe some of you have heard it, King's Day. If you want to see Kali Yuga, go to King's Day. It's a heavy atmosphere. But we would do a bigger Harinam there. So I remember one year, usually the Harinam is after the Vyasa Puja. But this one year, I think it was about 10 years ago, somehow or other it ended up on the day before Vyasa Puja. So we did the whole Harinam, His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj led all the devotees, and then we came back by coach and it was like midnight. After midnight we came back. So everyone, a whole day of Harinam, we went to sleep, Next day Vyasa Puja, so my alarm went off at, I maxed it out as much as I could, 4:10. I was like, just maxing it out. And then 4:10, and then my mind just woke up and I said, I can't wake up today. Krishna, I was on Harinam yesterday, the whole day. So I was about to go back to sleep, and then a thought went in my mind, but what if Kadamba Kanana Maharaj wakes up? I thought, oh no, that would not be nice on Vyasa Puja day if the Guru is at Mangalarti and you're not. But then my mind said, no, but he won't wake up. We all came so late. My mind said, no, but he may. So then I made a deal with my mind. I said, I'll wake up, but then I'll go in, he won't be there, and then I'll just come back and I'll go to sleep. That was my plan. So I woke up and I went down for Mangalarti. Even before I got to the temple room, I heard Maharaj. He chants japa very loud. So immediately, so I came into the temple room and I saw him. I was like, oh no, Maharaj is here. Should be pleased to see your spiritual master. I was like, oh no, Maharaj is here, Krishna. Anyway, then I showed my face, I made sure everyone saw me in the temple. I'm here for Mangalarati. So my mind said, anyway, I'll just stay for the Guru Vastakam, and then halfway, so I positioned myself at the back of the temple room so I could make a halfway exit. And just before Mangalarati was about to start, Maharaj was right at the front and he called me and he said, come to the front. I was like, oh no, now I'll have to stay for the whole Mangalarati. I can't walk out halfway through when he's in the Mangalarati. So this was getting from bad to worse. So then I stood at the front half asleep. And then Maharaj looked at me and he gave me the kartals and he said, sing. I wasn't even planning to be here. I wasn't planning to stay here for the whole Mangalarati. And now I'm singing the Mangalarati. And then I began singing. And it was very amazing because 5 or 10 minutes in, it was so beautiful. I was in front of their Lordship, Shishi Radha Gopinath. I was next to my spiritual master, singing the beautiful prayers of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on Vyasa Puja Day. It was all very, very transcendental. It was all very, very beautiful. And then I forgot all my tiredness. I forgot all my fatigue. I forgot all my ideas to escape and go back to bed. And I was just happy to be there. And I realized this is what the spiritual master does. By their intensity, even when you don't want to do it, because they're so intense, because they're so dedicated, because they have so much commitment and have made so much sacrifice, then you feel I should also. And like this, we're making advancement in Krishna consciousness. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, once he came to Srila Prabhupada after distributing books in the communist country, and Srila Prabhupada called him forward and he started rubbing Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's head and he said, you are a glorious grand disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He would be so happy with you. Your life has become glorious. He was rubbing Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's head. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj started crying. He said, Srila Prabhupada, I didn't want to go to the communist countries. But I only went because you pushed me. And Prabhupada looked at him and he said, my spiritual master pushed me. And I'm pushing you. And in the future you will push others. And like this, like a train, one carriage leading another train and the whole train goes back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada said that's how parampara works. So when we are in the midst of a great soul, then we feel challenged. I need to do more. Now in these days we're remembering His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who joined the movement in 1969. Over 5 decades of unwavering devotional service to Krishna. Yes, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who took sannyas in 1981 and for 44 years traveled tirelessly. Yes, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who Prabhupada told, make 12 temples in Delhi. And what did Gopal Krishna Maharaj do? He made over 20. Yes, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who initiated 35,000 disciples. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who was instrumental in distributing hundreds and thousands of Srila Prabhupada's books. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who, whichever temple you would end up in, you'd probably find him on the altar offering the Mangalarati. Because wherever he would come, he would go and worship their lordships. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who in bad health never stopped traveling, never stopped giving, never stopped serving, never stopped preaching. This is the great soul. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Guru means heavy. And heavy, in what sense? That they cannot be moved 1 inch from the lotus feet of Krishna. When you see the life of the Guru, after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're sitting at the lotus feet of Krishna, at the lotus feet of their superiors and serving. So that is the great opportunity. So the great spiritual teachers are encouraging us to live a life of intensity. Put your hands up if you like intensity. Sounds scary. Intensity sounds like insanity. I don't want to be intense. I like Krishna consciousness. I will do something. I'm already doing quite a lot. Intense? Why do I have to be intense? Because the Bhagavatam says, Akama sarvakamo va moksha kama udaradi divrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Because the Bhagavatam says, if you have many, many material desires, sarvakamo va, there's only one way to get rid of it. And that is by divrena bhakti yogena, only by intense devotional service. If we have an attraction to Maya, if we have attachment to things of this world, if we still have material desires which are lingering in our mind and don't seem to be disappearing. One time a devotee said to me, my mind during japa time is like a horror movie. Then there's one solution. Divrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. You have to engage in devotional service, but not casual, not part-time, not easygoing, intense. Intense. Yes, intense devotional service. What does intense devotional service mean? Always increase the quantity. Fill your life with more service. Fill your life with many, many projects, many, many responsibilities. Fill your life with many things that can ensure that your mind and intelligence is so busy thinking about Krishna and Srila Prabhupada's service that there's no room for Maya to enter. Intense devotional service doesn't just mean more quantity, but it means more quality. Serve, but serve with more attention. Serve with more sincerity, more conscious intention. Serve with a real focus on the quality of the offering that you're making. Intense devotional service means quantity, quality. It also means difficulty. Be willing to do what others would not do. Be willing to do the service that many other people would steer away from. Yes, do those difficult things, because in that difficulty, Krishna will come and help you. Krishna will appear in your life. Krishna will empower you. That's what it means to practice intense devotional service. And yes, responsibility. This also means intense devotional service. Don't just increase the quantity, the quality, the difficulty, but increase your responsibility, not just by taking interest in your own spiritual life, but take the responsibility for other people's spiritual lives. Don't just be concerned about us going back home, back to Godhead, but how many can we take on the journey with us? When we take responsibility for the spiritual lives of others, then Krishna is taking special attention. So here we begin to get an insight of what intense devotional service means. And then we begin to look at all the lives, starting with Srila Prabhupada, and then going on to his dear disciples like His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and then all the other great Vaishnavas, His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, and many other illustrious individuals who are no longer with us. And we begin to see, yes, they were practicing intense devotional service. But intense devotional service doesn't have to be painful. Intense devotional service doesn't have to be heavy. Intense devotional service is actually very, very joyful. Intense devotional service will actually help you to forget about all the other problems that material life will bring. Absorption in devotional service is the only solution in the material world. And therefore, it's very, very beautiful. So we're very, very fortunate to be close to someone like Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, because by being in proximity with such a person, we began to increase the intensity of our devotional service even when we didn't want to do it. If you want to have a really dynamic relationship with your spiritual master, your spiritual teacher, then they will open up opportunities for you to be intense. They will give instructions. And if we do something with those instructions, then they get even more excited and they give more of themselves to you. And then if you invest and you respond to their faith that they're investing in you, and you give back more service, then they invest, and like this, it becomes very beautiful. Once when Kadamba Kanana Maharaj came to London, there weren't many disciples at that time, just one or two. So there was one other devotee, and he was organizing Maharaj's schedule. He's very young. So he had organized all the programs for Maharaj, so he showed me the schedule. And then on one afternoon in the schedule, he had put, play tennis with Maharaj. Because I looked at that, I was like, what's this? He said, yeah, we'll go, me and you will go and play tennis with Maharaj. I said, I don't know if Maharaj is going to want to play tennis. I don't think that's the kind of thing you do with your spiritual master. Play tennis. So anyway, finally he agreed. And then later on I told Maharaj, and he was laughing. And he said, actually, it's a game of tennis. The disciple is playing a game of tennis with the spiritual master. Because what the spiritual master does is he hits the ball into your court by giving you an instruction. But if you miss it, if you're inattentive, if you don't know how to hit the ball back, if you don't do anything once he hits the ball into your court and the ball doesn't go back, then what will he do? He'll hit another ball. And if you don't do anything with that, he may hit another ball. And if you don't do anything with that, it starts getting a little bit boring. It starts getting a little bit boring for the spiritual master if he keeps hitting balls into your court and then you don't hit them back. But for all of you who have played tennis, you know, if you hit the ball into someone's court and they hit it back, and then you hit it back, and then they hit it back, and then you hit it back even harder, and they come back and hit it back even harder, then it starts getting very, very exciting. That is the relationship with the spiritual master. So intense devotional service doesn't have to be heavy. Intense devotional service is the most beautiful thing. And the spiritual master, he introduces us to that transcendental adventure. And then you begin to do things and achieve things and see things and experience things that you thought were never possible. Bhaktivedanta Maharaj said, when your desire to serve is so great that you go beyond your capacity, but you continue on without hesitation, at that moment empowerment occurs. So the spiritual master makes it all achievable. Things you thought you could never do, places you thought you could never reach, difficult services that you thought were beyond the scope of what you could ever imagine. By the mercy of the spiritual master, anything becomes possible. In the last Kartik, before Maharaj left this world, we were with him. So he mercifully allowed me to stay in the apartment with him. So one afternoon he came into the room where I was staying, and my danda was there. So he went over, he was just walking around the room, he was smiling, and then he picked up my danda. And as soon as he picked up my danda, he went like this, and he said, "It's so heavy." He said, "Your danda is so heavy." Because someone had made, it was a travel danda, so they had made it with lots of metal pieces that fit together. So he looked at me and he said, "This is such a heavy danda." So he said, "Come with me." So then I walked out of the room, and then we walked into his room, and then on his desk was his danda. So he said, "Pick up my danda." So I picked up his danda, and it was like a feather. It was so light. So he started laughing, he was smiling, and he said, "What do you think?" I said, "It's so light. It's like a feather." And he said, "Yeah, and yours is so heavy." I said, "Yes, Maharaj, you gave it to me." I said, "But yours is so light." He said, "Do you like it?" I said, "Yes." He said, "It's yours. Take it." So I took his danda. And then I was walking out of the room, and he said, "The sannyas vow is already heavy. At least you can have a light danda." So I was walking out, and I was appreciating, this is actually what the spiritual master does. He makes something which is very, very heavy, he makes it actually much lighter. He makes something which is very, very hard much more achievable. He makes something which seems very, very far away within your grasp. And he makes that which you think is absolutely impossible, he makes it a reality. Therefore, mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum dinatarinam. By the mercy of Guru, a blind person can see stars in the sky. A dumb person can speak very eloquently, and a lame person can cross mountains. This is the mercy of the spiritual master. So the spiritual master creates, the spiritual master is always one step ahead. This is the amazing thing. The spiritual master knows so many things before we even become aware of it. And the spiritual master is planning so many steps ahead even before we've thought about it. One time a devotee, he saw Srila Prabhupada, every single day Srila Prabhupada was wearing these nice white shoes. So Srila Prabhupada was in the room, and then every morning he'd come out for his morning walk, and his white shoes were just outside his door, and Prabhupada would put the white shoes on, and then he would go for his morning walk, he would come back, and just before entering the room he would leave the white shoes there. So the disciple thought, ding, one of those moments. Said, okay, what I'll do is I'll get exactly the same white shoes. And tomorrow what I'll do is, before Srila Prabhupada comes, I'll replace his white shoes with the new ones. He said, when Prabhupada comes back, when he goes in, then once Prabhupada's taken them off for that day, then I'll have the fresh dust of his feet, I'll take his old ones, and I'll put the new ones there. Exactly the same. So he was thinking that. And then that morning, Srila Prabhupada came out of his room, he put the white shoes on, this devotee had the other white shoes in his bag, so everything's going to plan. The fresh dust will be on those shoes. Then Prabhupada went out, he followed Prabhupada, then they came back to the house, and he was just waiting for that moment. Prabhupada would take off the white shoes and then go in, and then he would switch it. And Prabhupada came back, he got right to the door, and then Prabhupada just walked inside with the shoes on. And you go, oh my God. Because the spiritual master. And then he said that very day, Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture. And in the lecture, Prabhupada said, never try to cheat the spiritual master. He was one step ahead. So he realized, I can't. The spiritual master is always ahead. So we don't know the spiritual master. Sometimes they may say things, they may do things, they may move our life in a certain way. We don't know. But just by being close to them and having trust, then one is crafting a beautiful future. So, every great Vaishnav was made by another Vaishnav. In Parampara, nobody is self-made. In our Vaishnav tradition, no one becomes a great Vaishnav without serving another great Vaishnav. And therefore the great souls come, they become servants of their superiors, and then they give us the opportunity to serve them. And by giving us the opportunity to serve them, they allow our lives to become meaningful. So on this day we're remembering all these great souls, and somehow or other, even when they leave, we have to feel their presence. One time Srila Prabhupada was in Mayapur, and so Prabhupada went on the road, Bhaktisiddhanta Marg, and he walked past the Chaitanya Math. His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj tells this story that later on, Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers were criticizing him that, just see, he walked past Chaitanya Math, but he didn't come inside and offer his obeisances to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Why didn't he come inside to the Samadhi and offer his obeisances to his spiritual master? So they were criticizing. And the news came to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, just see, they think Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is just stuck underground. What they don't realize is that he's moving with me all the time. He's right by my side. The spiritual master lives forever in his instructions, and the follower lives with him. So he said, they don't understand. I feel the presence of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur at every moment in my life. This is the great opportunity. He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die when thou art still living in sound. The Vaishnavas live to die, die to live, and living they spread the holy name around. So they're still living, the great souls. But those who tune in, those who really connect, they are able to very much feel the presence of the spiritual teachers. So we were all blessed to have this opportunity. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj really emphasized the expansion of the Krishna consciousness movement. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are going on even today. Adyapiha shay leela kah gaur roy, kona kona bhagyavan dekhibar boy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are going on even today. Kona kona bhagyavan, but who's that fortunate person that aligns themselves with the wishes of the great souls, that takes the desire of the great souls to spread this Sankirtan movement? Those people that make that desire of the spiritual teachers their heart and soul, those are the individuals that see Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in front of their eyes. And therefore, all of our teachers in the Parampara, they give us an open invitation to become active contributors in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's electrifying movement. This is the great opportunity that they give us. So, when we preach Krishna consciousness, then we get absorption. When we preach Krishna consciousness, we get deep realization. And most importantly, when we preach Krishna consciousness, we get incredible reciprocation. You can connect with all the great souls in the Parampara. You can connect with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can see Krishna right in front of your eyes if we become active, alert, enthused, enlivened in this Sankirtan movement, if we become contributing members. So the tendency in this world is always to become mechanical. The tendency in this world is always to become casual. The tendency in this world is always to become a little bit complacent. But we can't do that because we're on the final lap. How many lives did it take to get to this point where we have everything at our fingertips to re-enter the eternal pastimes of the Lord? But now if in the last lap we become complacent and comfortable and casual, then we miss the opportunity. Srila Prabhupada said, if someone comes to Krishna consciousness, they're very fortunate. If someone doesn't come to Krishna consciousness, they're unfortunate. But if someone comes to Krishna consciousness and then doesn't take the full opportunity, they're most unfortunate. More unfortunate than not coming to Krishna consciousness is to come to Krishna consciousness and then not take full advantage. And therefore, we're honoring these days because we're remembering the lives of individuals who took the full opportunity. When the call came, then they gave themselves fully. Now all of us in this room have different responsibilities. We can't just leave everything behind. We can't just, well, you can if you want to. But if it's not practical, it just means we have to make a vision that one day we have to come to that point. Mother Yamuna said, in my life I was never disappointed because my policy was always everything for Krishna and nothing for me. If you get to that point in your life, there'll never be any disappointment. So we're working towards it. Right now it's kind of like 2 for you, 1 for me. A few for you, but I have to keep something for me. But eventually we make a vision in our life, a 10-year, a 20-year, a 30-year vision. There has to be a point where it's everything for Krishna and nothing for me. And it's possible because these great souls show us they did it. They did it. They were willing to do anything. I was with Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, and this was maybe the last few weeks. And it was very interesting because I was sitting in the front room with him. It was only two of us. And then I was thinking, I'm in Vrindavan. It's the last, I'm with my spiritual master alone. It's his last few months on the planet. I was waiting to have some conversation with him. So I didn't initiate the conversation. I thought, let's see what he wants to speak about. And so he started speaking. And then he started telling me about guns. I was like, I wasn't expecting this, I thought it would be something from the Bhagavatam or something, So he starts talking to me about guns. He said, do you know different types of guns? He said, there's a revolver, there's a semi-automatic, there's this type of gun, this type of gun. So I'm thinking like, okay, And then he says, and do you know there's different ways to kill people? So I was like, this was getting even more strange. So then he began explaining to me different ways in which you can kill people, different ways in which people do assassinations. He even described to me step by step how you do a drive-by. So I'm thinking, so after he's describing all of this to me, I said, like, Maharaj, how do you know all this? He said, I researched everything. I said, why in the world were you researching this? And then he said, because I knew people were trying to kill me. I knew someone was about to kill me. And therefore I had to know, how do people do these kind of things? I had to watch my back. And then he looked at me and he said, it's got to come to the point where you're willing to even take a bullet for Krishna. Anything for Krishna. That's a tall order. He was willing. He was ready. He knew it was on the cards. And sure enough, it happened. And when it happened, his faith didn't drop. When it happened, there was no anger or frustration or bitterness towards Krishna. When it happened, he saw, now Krishna is turning up the heat. Let's do more. And he did. And he saw that through that bullet, he said, through the bullet, Krishna opened up a whole new world of spiritual opportunity to serve. It's all Krishna's mercy. So this example is an incredible example. And so when we come in front of the great personalities, we feel challenged. In sociology, one sociologist, he says, hard times make strong people. And then he says, strong people make good times. And good times make weak people. And weak people make hard times. He said, this is the way in which society goes. Hard times make strong people. But sometimes good times can make weak people. Srila Prabhupada, hard times. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, hard times. Preaching in Russia just after the Iron Curtain. Preaching in India. Managing in India. Very difficult. All these great souls, hard times, but look how strong they became. We have to be careful because we are in a time in ISKCON where times are good. Many, many temples, many, many facilities, many nice programs, many, many opportunities, many comforts and many conveniences. But we have to make sure we don't become weak. We have to make sure we don't become complacent or comfortable. We have to make sure that the Krishna consciousness movement proves this theory wrong. Because in the Krishna consciousness movement, hard times make strong people. Strong people make good times. And good times bring about the revolution of the Sankirtan movement. It's got to go higher and higher and higher. So there's a big mission to fulfill, and the acharyas are relying on each and every individual. And each and every individual can take one part of Srila Prabhupada's movement and take responsibility for it. In this movement, nobody's big. And in this movement, nobody's small. Nobody's big because Krishna could just do it in one stroke by himself if he wanted to. And nobody's small because Bhava Grahi Janardana, Krishna sees the love that you have in your heart and he accepts that. So in this movement, nobody is small, nobody is big. But what we all have the opportunity to do is say there's one part of this movement and I'll take responsibility on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and his followers to make sure that this goes on. And when we do that, our life becomes glorious. Because one day, yes, that time will come. And then Srila Prabhupada may also ask each one of us, and what did you do to spread the Krishna consciousness movement? What did you do to serve my movement? Hopefully, we'll all have something to report, because that will be the real glory of our life. So on this day, let us remember these great souls and pray for just a fraction of their faith, their conviction, their deep dedication. Let us pray that if we're not there, at least we can start making a vision to get there. Let us pray that we can always remain close to them and embrace their intensity so that we can increase our own intensity. And let's pray that we can stay close to them and experience the magic and the wonder and the joyfulness and the dynamism of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are going on even today. But Kona Kona Bhagyavan Dekhi Bada Boy. You can see. Can you see? They're going on. Yes, they're going on. But we have to become fortunate. And then we'll be able to see all these miracles. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki, His Holiness Chaitanya Maharaj ki, His Holiness Kadamakanana Maharaj ki, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Thank you so much for your attention. Hare Krishna.